I should probably start saying happy birthday, Harry Potter. It's a big day. My name's Miss Megan. I'm here with the Scottsdale Public Library, and we're gonna have some fun today at our Harry Potter paint and sip. So we're gonna make a yummy treat, or drink, I should say, have some fun with some Harry Potter trivia, and paint Harry Potter, of course. So let's get started with our drink. Today we're gonna make some frozen butterbeer, and it's delicious. You just need a few ingredients. It's not too much. You can find them at your local grocery store. First thing I'm gonna add is some ice. You always want ice closer to the blade on the bottom. It's a little easier if I just pour my ice. However much ice you want to add, just depends on how thick you want it. We're gonna add some vanilla ice cream. I'm just gonna do 2 scoops. If you're making this for lots of people, add more ice cream. Add more ice. All right, you also need some cream soda. You're not gonna use the whole bottle. You want about 6 ounces or so. This is a 12-ounce bottle, so maybe half of it. We're gonna add some butterscotch syrup. Now this is gonna, if you like it really sweet, add more syrup. Now I have a couple spices that you can add. You don't have to add them. I have some butter extract and vanilla extract. The butter extract really amps up the butterbeer flavor. I don't measure. It's not a precise thing. It's however it makes you feel. It's kind of like painting. It's how you feel. A little vanilla extract gives it that richness. All right, now we're gonna mix it up. And I'm thinking about butterbeer, and I think Ron Weasley was the one that introduced Harry Potter to butterbeer. So my first Harry Potter trivia question is, how many brothers does Ron Weasley have? And bonus points if you can name all of them. All right, you ready to mix it? We may need to adjust our flavors. I think that's the best we're gonna get. All right, my answer, Ron Weasley has 5 brothers. Their names are Bill, Charlie, Percy, Fred, and George. Did you get it? I'm definitely a thick milkshake person, but butterbeer is delicious either way. So if you want it thicker, add more ice, add a little bit more ice cream, that will thicken it up. I'm gonna leave it just like this because it's delicious both ways. I had to test them all out. Loosen it. I have my Harry Potter mug. Nice and thick. Woo, that looks delicious. I might as well put some whipped cream on top because it's a birthday. And what's a birthday without whipped cream? Fun? Whipped cream is always fun. And just a touch of syrup, because that's what makes it even more fun. And now, let's paint. All right, you guys ready? We have our drinks. Let's start painting. Before we get going though, I want to make sure you have all the supplies that we need. I have an 11 by 14 canvas. Mine is thin, yours can be the thicker kind, it doesn't matter. You could even use a piece of paper that size if you'd like. You need acrylic paint as well. You need at least these colors, black, blue, red, yellow, and white. I have this dark brown for fancy reasons. I'll let you know about that. You need at least 2, I use paper plates. You can use something else that you can wash off if you'd like. Paper plates to mix the paint on. And I have a large, this is my large, not like painting the wall large paintbrush. I have a couple mediums, and then I have a small paintbrush, and we'll use all of those at different points in time. The last few items that you need just for our painting fun is you need something like a cup with some water in it so you can rinse out your brushes. And I just get a couple pieces of paper towel or napkins that you can wipe your brushes on and dry them off. Make sure you have that nearby. You also need a pencil. Unless you're really good with a paintbrush, then you don't need a pencil, but I need a pencil. And last but not least, because I don't make the best circles, if you have something kind of like this piece of tape or maybe a cup or something that can give you a circle, that will help for our final image. But those are the supplies that you need. Now that we're ready, I have a question for you. We have our, from what platform does the Hogwarts Express leave? That's my question for you. Now we're gonna focus on skin color. Now to make skin color, all skin color is made up of blue, red, and yellow. However, and if you mix those together, you get brown. However, for me, my blue comes out really big. It makes a huge blob. And if you add too much blue when you're mixing red, yellow, and blue, it ends up making it look a little bit more zombie-like. But this is how you do get a darker skin tone, is by adding that blue with red and yellow. Because my blue comes out too quick, I'm just going to use red and yellow and then some white to lighten it up to make my skin tone. And we're going to do that on one of your paper plates. So grab one of them. I'm going to put the other one to the side. I'm going to add just a little bit of red, not a ton. Though I will tell you with the skin tone, since we're covering up so much of this with skin tone, you do want to make sure you make enough paint. Because if you run out of skin tone paint and then you're trying to match it and make it later, it just makes it more complicated. So let's just add a bit of red. I'm going to add some yellow. More yellow than red. And then I'm going to add a decent amount of white, and we're going to mix all of that together. And I just use my medium brush to help mix it together. And let's see our skin tone. Now when I want to lighten it, I'll add more white. If you want your skin tone to have a little bit more yellow to it, add more yellow. If you want it to have more red, add more red. If you're looking for a darker skin tone, add some of that blue. Mine comes out way too big though, so I'm going to avoid that. But if you have an awesome blue, do it, because it looks really great. Now mine's looking a little too pinkish, so I'm going to add some white to lighten it up. I definitely don't need more red right now. Oh, one piece of tidbit. If you're wanting a darker skin tone, you might be tempted to add black. You may think, well, I want it darker, I'm going to add black. But this black will react with your yellow paint in there, and it kind of gives off a greenish hue, and then you're looking really zombie-like. So unless you're making a Harry Potter zombie, monster, Frankenstein kind of thing, I would avoid using the black. And just darken the skin tone by adding a little bit of blue and lighten it by adding white. Cool thing about painting is that everybody's will look a little bit different. Yours probably looks awesome. Now one last piece of tip, your paint dries darker on the canvas than what it looks like wet here. So you want your skin tone to be a little bit lighter than what you really want it to look like on your canvas. All right, last but not least, I think I have my skin tone. It's a lighter shade. It's the shade I'm looking for. I may need to add a little bit of white. But let's see if you know my trivia question. What platform does the Hogwarts Express take off from? It is platform 9 3/4. Did you get it? All right, so you want to grab your larger brush because we are going to paint a large area with this. If we divide our canvas into fourths, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's our middle 2/4, so our big chunk in the middle that we're going to paint solid of our skin color tone, whatever skin color tone you made. Now we are attempting to turn or transfigure this canvas into a Harry Potter painting. So my next trivia question for you is, who was the transfiguration teacher at Hogwarts. Good. You want to clean off your brush. I squeeze out the water on my paper towel. All right, so I'm going to use the little extra part on my plate, and we're going to grab the black. Now we're going to first draw the line for our scarf down here at the bottom, and then we're going to do the hair up top. Just need a medium-sized dollop. And I'm going to grab my medium-sized brush, about this size, and I'm just going to draw the curvature of a scarf. I don't want a straight line because that's not how they go around our necks. All right, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. We'll leave that because we're gonna come back to that. We just want this part to dry. So now take your canvas and go ahead and flip it on over. For me, I find it easier to work with the hair when it's on the bottom. We're gonna draw ourselves some happy little trees or maybe little grass. That's what I think the hair looks like. Helps me bring in my inner Bob Ross. Now you may need to, depending on how much paint you did, you may need to let it, pause the video for a few minutes and let it chill out and dry, just so you didn't get too much smearing. Down there on our scarf it doesn't matter, but up here on the hair it will complicate things. So I'm going to take a break for a moment, have some of my drink we made, and then we'll get back to painting. All right, before I get on the hair, do you know who taught Transfiguration at Hogwarts? It's Professor McGonagall. Now, for the hair, he has dark black hair. If you want to be fancy and you're looking to add some dimension and depth to his hair, you can add a little bit of blue or a little bit of like a dark brown, and that will help add some depth. You won't be able to see what I add here. I tried it on camera. But I'll show. I'm going to add a little bit of brown to my black. And I'm just going to do it on one section because I want to use the black later for other things. I'll stir it in. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because we want it to look natural with the hair. So I'm going to use my medium brush. I have the edges. Now this part I'm going to use the skinny part to help add the hair that swoops up. And this is when you're making those happy little trees or some grass. You don't want it to all be uniform. You want some up and downs, but not all the same height. They're the same, have some taller than others. You want to make sure it's all, you've colored in enough of the dark, and then you're going to paint everything below that is going to be black. Or that brown, blue mixture that you did, if you're getting fancy on me. You want to make sure you go all the way to the edge. I'm making sure I get these little bits of lines just to make it look that much better. Remember, this is your painting to keep. So take your time, make sure it's the way you want it to look. Experiment using different ends of the brush. That'll give you a different way of painting. All right, I think I'm happy with that. You ready for our next step? You're gonna need a new plate. And we're gonna flip it over. Still liking the hair? Okay. You're gonna need your new plate and you're gonna get your red and your yellow paint colors. All right, now we're gonna work with the scarf down here at the bottom. We lined it. It's not perfect, that's not our final product yet. But we're gonna do alternating Gryffindor colors. We have our red and our yellow. I'm just gonna do straight yellow and red for simplicity purposes. But if you want to be more legit Harry Potter, you can make your red more of that crimson, that deeper red, by adding a little bit of black or brown, just a little bit, not too much, and mixing it together. And you can make your yellow more of a mustard color by looking to add some orange or just a tiny bit of red, not too much. Feel free to pause the video here and explore with some of the shades and the colors of the paint. But I'm just adding a little bit of yellow. I'm going to stick to the straight yellow and my straight red here, or technically it's called crimson. While we're doing these Gryffindor colors, speaking of Gryffindor, Harry Potter was on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. And my question for you is, what did Harry catch in his mouth on his first Quidditch match? All right, now we're starting with the yellow. Remember I said we're using the flat brush. We're just gonna make a straight line down. We propped it up so you could see me do it all the way to the bottom. It makes it a little bit easier. I'm just working on the edge, using my fat side of the brush. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want it to be a solid yellow. It can go a little bit on our outlining scarf line there, because we're going to be covering that up. But I do want my yellow to color up my skin tone here. I'm going to leave about the same width of my brush, leave that gap, and I'm going to do another yellow line. In between is where we're going to do our red. You might need to do a couple different layers, depending on what your canvas or your paper is like. Some layer better than others. You can still kind of see my skin tone in the background, so I'm having to do a couple layers to make it thicker, make the paint thicker, so I just get my scarf. All right, you ready for red? Make sure you clean off your brush and you dry your brush. And now I'm going to make my red lines in between. You're welcome to wait for it to dry a little bit. This material that I have takes a little bit longer to dry. So you're seeing a little bit of the smudges, but we are going to do black lines in between. And so it should cover most of those. All right, you ready for the next step? We got to clean off our brush. Now this is going to be wet down here, but we're going to work on the face right in the middle there. Now it gets a little bit hard. If you have a steady hands and you're pretty confident with your painting skills, you're welcome to just go with your really small brush and try and trace the outlines of the glasses. Some of us aren't as good as others, myself I'm speaking of. And so I'm going to use a pencil and I'm going to trace really lightly on there. It's okay to trace on this because I'm going to cover it with black paint and you're not going to see it. I'm obviously not going to draw super dark though. So I'm going to move this down so I can trace my glasses. I'm going to use the masking tape and that will help me get my circles. I'm going to do them right here in the middle on either side, and then we'll trace it and I'll show you how to find the glasses. Before I do that though, go ahead into the middle of your screen, go a little bit down, like right, a little bit higher than middle. Here's our middle. I'm going a little bit higher and I'm just going to draw a little dash, and that's going to be the bridge of his glasses. And that will help us with tracing the outline of our round glasses. So I'm going to go in the middle, go down a little bit, and I'm just going to make a little tiny mark. All right, let me get my circle that's going to help me. Okay, I'm going to see if I can cut it and trace it up on the board for you. Now I have the masking tape circle, that works great, but I'm going to use the lid to my blender bottle because it's just about the right size I wanted. You want something about 3.5 to 3 3/4 inch diameter. That's what you're looking for. I think that will give the best size for our 11 by 14 canvas here. Now I almost forgot. What did Harry Potter catch in his mouth on his first Quidditch match? The golden snitch. But for extra bonus points, how many points do you get in Quidditch if you catch the snitch? That's my next question, why we're tracing these glasses. All right, now that I traced it, I'm gonna put my pencil down, and the plate that if you had some of your black paint left, that's what I'm gonna use. Now I find it easiest to paint my circles first. So I'm gonna really use my fine brush and try to have a steady hand. So when you're painting the frames of Harry Potter's glasses, you may notice that it's easier for you to go one direction rather than another. So for me, it's easier for me to go clockwise around, so I try to do that. Just stick to whatever is most comfortable for you. That's when you'll do your best painting. Now I did ask you, how many points do you get if you catch a snitch? In a Quidditch match, you get 150 points. Take your time on this. You're gonna wanna make sure, this is a really fine detail, so take your time on it to make sure you're getting exactly the look you're going for. All right, so I have my two circles. I'm gonna connect them in the middle with just a little downward slope. Now I'm gonna make two lines up for the edges of his glasses. Make sure yours lines up where the frame you started here, about the same place over here. All right, now we just have the nose and the mouth and his eyes. So I just made a little mark for the nose, same shape, but bigger for the mouth. All right, so now what's left is just two little tiny dots we're gonna do right in the middle of his glasses. If you want, you could use one of those super tiny paintbrushes that come in the watercolor sets that you have. I'm gonna try my little tiny one here. What do you think? Does it look okay? I think we're almost done. We're gonna stick with the black and we're gonna finish off right down here. So I'm gonna go with my medium brush. And I'm gonna trace over first, over the outline of the scarf. And then we're gonna draw lines in between the two colors. If it's dry all the way, you may need to wait a little bit for yours. All right, we got that. We just have the lines left. I'm gonna take a break, have a drink of my butterbeer, and make sure I'm completely dry down there. If you need to let it dry longer, you can stick it outside in our super hot temperatures here, or just hit pause and go take a break for a bit. All right, Harry Potter trivia question. What makes up the core of Harry Potter's wand? Think about it. Now this time for the stripes down in between on the scarf, I'm gonna use just the thin edge. So I'm gonna go on the thin ways, not the thick side, the fat side, but the thin side to make it a smaller line. How's yours look? I'm not a professional painter, but I'm actually pretty proud of this. Except for I just realized we forgot one thing. What's on Harry Potter's forehead? We haven't done the lightning bolt. Let's do that real quick before we forget. I can't believe you guys let me almost miss it. as I'm drying off my paintbrush, what's the core inside Harry Potter's wand? It is a phoenix feather. And for bonus points, as I'm doing the lightning bolt, this phoenix only gave 2 feathers for 2 wands. Who owns the other wand? All right, so you need a little bit of black. We're gonna put it just up here. I honestly don't think there's a pretty way to make a lightning bolt, to be honest. So we're just going to do a slide dash, over, down, slant, over, down, slant. Very little, okay? All right, there we go. And one last thing, I almost forgot again. We must be almost over with our paint and sip. I'm getting forgetful. We have to put our initials in the bottom corner. You gotta own the piece that you did. All right, there we go. My name's Miss Megan. Thanks for coming to celebrate Harry Potter's birthday with the Scottsdale Public Library Harry Potter Paint and Sip. It was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope your painting is displayed prominently in your room somewhere. And stay tuned. We got more virtual programs coming your way. Lots of fun story times for the younger ones. We got some movie reviews and things like that for the olders. It's just a lot of fun. So stay tuned to our Facebook and our YouTube page. Thanks. See you guys next time. Wait, I forgot. Who also has a feather from the same phoenix as the core in their wand? Voldemort. That's the one. Thanks again. I had a lot of fun. Hope you guys did too. I'll see you next time.